Like the video, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon for latest video updates.
Welcome back to Examining Life. My name is Amanda, and today I am with my friend Manny. We went to high school together. Would you like to introduce yourself?
So I graduated from Boston University in 2017. My degree is in biology with a specialization in conservation biology and ecology. I'm currently an apprentice, soon to be wildlife rehabber over at Brook Nature Center in Canton, taking care of wild animals, and I am hopefully aspiring to be a wildlife veterinarian.
How should or shouldn't animals be treated, and do we have a moral obligation to this?
So the question centers around how we should be treating animals and if we have a moral obligation to that. And that's a really difficult question for me, mostly because I don't want to be too idealistic with my answer. And the reason for that is we don't live in an idealistic world. We live in a world where there is, societal structures that's very dense. We live in a world with many cultures, all with different traditions and ideals. So it's I don't want to be the person to say like, oh, we should all be vegetarian, we should all be vegan, we should all do this and all do that. When, in my own life, even though I did major in ecology and I do find wildlife, that is my passion. Even in my own life, I find it really difficult to kind of be completely, to commit to something like veganism or vegetarianism or something like that. That being said, I do believe that us as a human species, we tend to think of ourselves as the most advanced, as the most competent, as just truly unique species. In many ways we are, but a byproduct of that is we kind of disregard, wildlife and nature and animals and a lot of things that for the most part, they came before us, and we're kind of taking advantage of our Mother Earth, and we're to make it as blunt as possible, we're basically poisoning it. We should be spokespeople. We should be shepherds of nature and of animals, because they can't be spokespeople for themselves. And that's kind of why what I do now is wildlife rehabilitation, because for all the harm we kind of are doing to the earth when it comes to we're creating roads, we're urbanizing our entire environment. We're building large skyscrapers and stuff like that, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because like I said, that's just kind of how our society is going. That's the direction we're going. Yeah. So I find that it is my duty to kind of push back at any harm that process is doing by, if there's an animal in need, if there's a bird with a broken wing, if there's an opossum that has been abandoned, I'm going to put in the work. I'm going to put in the efforts to kind of rehabilitate and kind of fix whatever mistake that we did, and then pour that back into the earth. And so I think that is my obligation. That is what I decide to do, and not everyone has that kind of same obligation, I don't think. Okay. But I do think that everybody has the obligation to learn. So I know that for a fact that my family and my family's family and a lot of people that I've known from around these areas just don't know the impact that they're having on the world. They don't know what they're doing. Right. And so that's why, as a spokesperson, as someone who wants to make small impacts to better the environment we are in now, I want to be able to inform people. I want to be able to educate people of that what we are doing is having an effect. Yeah. And even though animals are quote unquote less sophisticated than humans, which I don't agree with at all, by the way. There are things that animals can do that are just mind-blowing that us humans would never be able to do, just like on a scientific level, but that's like a completely different conversation. But you know, because animals don't necessarily have the same kind of form of consciousness that we do.
Yeah.
We kind of put them to the side and don't realize that animals get the flu. I'm gonna sound really corny, but we're not so different after all.
Yeah.
It's just that because we, as humans, are grouped together and are kind of just have been pushing forward this narrative of advancement of technology and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
We kind of put to the side, very similar animals that are not capable of,
the same
level of cognition, but also they're not capable of surviving through the stuff that we are doing.
Yeah. It's easy to other the other.
Yeah.
If it doesn't benefit us. So if animals in nature don't benefit us, it's easy to destroy it and make it the other when it's not, our perceptions don't see it as being beneficial to us.
Yes. Absolutely.
Even though absolutely it does have beneficial factors in our lives, and nature should play an important role in our lives.
Millions upon millions of years ago, before there were humans, before there were mammals, before any of that, there was just single cell bacteria, single cell organisms, and they were mostly living in the water, and they were growing in the water. It was only until a plant the evolution of the plant on the ground of Earth was able to be created and create oxygen for us. That is the only reason why mammals were able to exist. And that is the only reason why oxygen was put out into the earth, was because scientifically a plant ingests carbon dioxide and they get their nutrients through that. And a waste product, basically trash for them, is O2 that they don't want inside their system, and so they release it. The root of our existence is the trash of a tree, the trash of a plant, the trash of these things that lose O2 just because they don't want it anymore. And we sprouted from the garbage of the plant world.
Okay.
To me, it's mind-blowing that us as a human species can come from that and be so flippant about our existence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just self-centered and so just not conscientious of the world around us.
Yeah.
There's a lot of factors that are contributing to kind of this mental isolation of ourselves. And so I don't want to say that people are bad for not being vegetarian, for not recycling, for not doing these things. What I think is bad is the blatant rejection of something like science, of something like very basic, practical, scientific reasoning that is well known in the earth.
Yeah.
That I think is bad. But also, I think the lack of wanting to educate people, because I think it also is just education. I don't hate my family for not recycling.
Yeah.
But I think it's my duty to educate them and have them know that they're actually having an effect.
What role do you think nature should play in modern society? Should it be separate? Should the forest be over there and the city is over here, and it's two separate worlds? Or what do you think?
Again, idealistically, I would love for nature to just kind of be coexisting with us, to find a way to coexist with nature and have it intertwined. And it's very essential to the stigma that animals that look scary and look threatening and could be threatening are a danger to us. That's not true at all. I spent a month in Ecuador, in the rainforest in Tiputini, and there's jaguars, there's snakes, there's all these dangerous things there. And when I asked my professor, I'm like, hey, do you should we be scared of these things? Like, no, they don't want to see us. And that is like the basic crux of like whatever argument someone's making. An animal that is experiencing or seeing something that is bigger than them and foreign from them, and they've never seen it before, they don't want to see that. They are they're going to find a way to avoid us at all costs. The only time that they are threatening to us is when we threaten them, So that's why there are cities where there's a leopard walking through and no one notices, because they're going unnoticed. They have strategically found a way to not bother anyone. And so ideally, that should be everywhere. We should all welcome that, but that's not how the world works. Again, it comes down to education. We don't need to completely grow a tree in the middle of every skyscraper. We don't. But we do need to acknowledge, kind of how I said before, we are existing based off of the chemicals that plants are producing. And deforestation is happening more and more. And besides, if we want to be selfish about this whole thing, forget about the animals, forget about all that kind of stuff. If the more you are deforesting and the more you are replacing the forest with things that are creating toxic gas, that is not good for us. People are always talking about we have to save the world, we have to save Earth. That's not true. We don't have to save Earth, because Earth has gone through cataclysmic events that have made like half of the living populations of whatever was living there extinct. There's been volcano eruptions, there's been meteors that cause climate change, that cause volcanic eruptions. Millions of years later, it becomes habitable again. It's just something else that was thriving replaces them. The reason why we need to be aware of something like climate change, of something like deforestation, of something like any of those things, is for our well-being and for our children's well-being, because nature is going to fix itself. But it's going to fix itself at the expense of human lives. And that sounds really extreme, but it is that extreme. In a macroscopic view of it, it is that extreme.
Like earthquakes, right? Earthquakes are, like, we think they're terrible because of the loss of human life or the loss of, habitats, our living space. But those are totally normal things in the history of Earth. So,
And we are not, as a society, preparing ourselves for these horrible natural disasters. So it's really for us. It is really for us.
One last quick question before we wrap up. So you spent some time in Ecuador, which is a developing country, correct?
Yes, it is. Yes, it would be considered a third world country.
How do you think developing countries should develop, knowing that we have these advanced technologies, solar panels, etc., etc.? Should they skip the stuff that we've already done, and just go right to that, or how do you think
it's hard not
developing countries should
it's hard not to get political with this type of thing, because
I understand I is a huge the biggest factor, and politics plays into money, foreign aid, etc., etc. But I guess as a thought experiment, minus those factors.
I will say this, Ecuador is one of the most beautiful places on Earth. It is the most diverse place on Earth. There's a reason why I went for ecology, because I was able to study mountain ecology, coastal ecology, rainforest. We went to the Galapagos, so island ecology.
Oh wow, that's cool.
It is absolutely breathtaking. And something that they are doing is leaning towards getting people to see their country for all of its nature, all of its beauty. Sometimes, again, not to get politics involved, but sometimes money, the financial gain from those things is not as much as, say, if they were drilling or something like that. But in my mind, I believe that if we all just kind of, I don't know, the world's beautiful. the world really is beautiful. Even in Connecticut, there are beautiful places in the world, and I just wish that and hope that people can kind of see how beautiful the world is, have society kind of lean in towards, towards its beauty and towards its diversity and towards its, like, there are animals, there are creatures that you will see that you will never see for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the saddest thing is I did 2 big research papers in school. One was about tigers, tigers being extinct, and one was rhinoceroses being extinct. And these are 2 animals that are kind of staples when you're a little kid and you open up a book of like your first words or animals or anything like that. Rhinoceroses is one of the first ones. Tigers are one of the first ones. Yeah. And it is a scary thing that in like 50 years, if poaching persists and destroying of the habitat destruction is continuing at a consistent rate, these things that are staples they're going to go extinct. And as a society, because we don't necessarily see it, we don't see it happening because these are like mass extinctions happening, and there's no tigers, there's no rhinoceroses, and people are just reading these in books thinking, oh, over in so-and-so place, there are tigers and rhinoceroses. My fear, and this is just like a existential fear, is just, them being extinct, long gone, but we're still flipping through the book as if they still exist. And that is why I think education is absolutely important. That's why I think us embracing nature and all of its beauty is really important. And even though we don't necessarily have to make completely drastic decisions to save the earth that make people uncomfortable. My family's never gonna stop eating meat. That's just something that's just a cultural thing. Right. That's just a cultural thing. And something that I struggle with as well. But there are small things that we can do that will be able to make a larger impact on the entire earth. And that's just kind of what we need to start realizing, even though we don't see it ourselves, we have to start realizing and leaning into that. We have the capability of, as a community, to do small things that will make big impacts.
What are just like 2 small examples of like some things that average people can do?
Let's see. Well, I'm going to do a plug for Roaring Brook Nature Center, the wildlife thing, because there are a lot of accidents that happen with animals, and people don't really realize or pay attention, especially when it comes to like squirrels, birds, any of that kind of stuff. They're always coming in injured. They're always becoming injured, and a lot of the time it's due to head trauma from cars and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes it's like agriculture, poisoning, all that kind of stuff. If you see an animal that is in need of help, you don't have the responsibility to take care of the animal. Legally, you don't have the responsibility, but you should take the extra step and call a wildlife rehabber, call a veterinarian, bring an animal in, because ultimately, as an ecologist, I also kind of see everything kind of from a statistical point of view. Every single animal that is being put into the system of the food chain helps with the balance of everything. So that's one thing. Okay. And then we're getting slightly better with recycling, but I feel like we're not very knowledgeable. We know what the blue bins are. Blue bins is where bottles are, but then you definitely let bottles go in there. Sometimes glass goes in there, sometimes cardboard box. It's really fuzzy. Yeah. So I think as like a systematic thing, we should just be more knowledgeable, and we should educate people more on like, where is this stuff going? Why is that stuff being put there? Because even I have trouble like opening a box and being like, do I put this in the recycling or do I put this in the compost, and that kind of stuff. Or people talk about meatless Mondays. It's not that hard to do meatless Mondays. Just make mac and cheese for one day. That's all. Eggs.
Sounds good to me.
Eggs, bread for breakfast, mac and cheese or a salad for lunch, and then, I don't know, like a soup or just like a vegetarian. It's not that hard. It really is not that hard. And that's pretty much all. It's small things.
Yeah.
Small things, you know? And if you guys want to learn more stuff, especially in Connecticut, I will always recommend Brook Nature Center, the place that I volunteer at. They're super knowledgeable, but also the Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection. They have a list of just all of the beautiful hiking trails, parks, animals, all that kind of stuff, and volunteering opportunities, all there. And I think that more people use that as a resource, they can be more knowledgeable of what's going on. Right?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all for watching. Please let me know in the comments below how you would answer the question, how should or shouldn't animals be treated, and do we have a moral obligation to do this? And also, what role nature should play in modern society. Thank you again, and please like and subscribe.